So let's start with the Knicks first. I'm so happy for R.J. Barrett. It's not even funny. It is. People have been on his ass, and he came through big. And the way the Knicks fan was reacting on Friday night, the way they were reacting yesterday, you could tell. I mean, like, you have to be some sort of moron not to recognize just how passionate the fan base is about the basketball team and how long it's been for them for us, because we're Knicks fans too, to actually enjoy a game and watch them play defense. It reminds me of the 90s all over again, for God's sake, the way these last two games were played in our building. And, the other thing too, okay, Julius didn't play in the fourth quarter yesterday. I don't really care. Just like I said in the beginning, I don't really care that, maybe, what's his name, R.J. Barrett did not play well. I don't care. They're all in this together. And what I hated about Tom Thibodeau most is that he has this hardened, rotation. This is the way we're doing it, and we're not changing it. And maybe injuries have changed a little bit of what he's doing. And Josh Hart starting yesterday was one of those things. But, man, it just recognize who's hot, who's playing well, and who deserves to be on the court. That's all you could ask for, as opposed to your supposed superstar, throwing up threes when they shouldn't be thrown up. So I would just say that they made a great signing in Jalen Brunson. That's all we've been talking about all year. This trade for Josh Hart has been off the charts, and R.J. Barrett has come through. And, I don't necessarily know that we could ask for more than that. Julius Randle will have his moments. I'm not worried about it. What the difference between this and 2 years ago is that we're not all relying just on him anymore.
Of course.
That's the great part of all this.
Yeah, I mean, and you've taken it to a full other extreme. You're not relying on just him. You actually don't even need him. You really don't even need him, and that was proven.
They're going to need him. They're going to need him.
Well, you didn't need him yesterday, and he was awful in that game. Absolutely awful, and I don't think it's just his fault. But I mean, he has played not well since coming back from this.
Game one, he played well.
But since coming with the injury, he has not been great, and he was pathetic yesterday. And Tom Thibodeau, to his credit, who has basically given Julius Randle every bit of every inch and every excuse throughout his Knicks career, basically sat him down and goes, listen, you haven't been good enough, and this is an important game, and this game is close, and the better team today does not have you on the floor.
And that's right, and that's the way it should be. And that's good. It's good to see that. It's not good to see Julius not play well, but he played well in game one. And he's going to have opportunities, and he's going to have to come through. I mean, if they're going to go farther, and game four is always the toughest game to win, but if they're going to go farther than this and go deep into the playoffs, he's going to have his moments. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's a great rotation. It's fun to watch. They're playing defense. This Hartenstein has been great. Just tipping rebounds. Mitchell Robinson has been good, playing defense, getting rebounds, putbacks, alley-oops, you name it. It's all been on display for the Knicks. This next game is going to be a bitch in Cleveland. There's no question about it. Donovan Mitchell's probably going to go off. But these last two games at the Garden were exactly what every single Knicks fan that went to those games and every single Knicks fan who sat home and watched those games were hoping to see. A little bit of 90s with the defense and then some real clutch, shots late in games. And I was listening a little bit to Wally on the radio yesterday, and he was talking about how R.J. Barrett's got to take over the fourth quarter. R.J. Barrett's got to take over the fourth quarter. You could tell because he's playing well, he's engaged. And I wouldn't say he took over the fourth quarter, but he was a significant presence in the fourth quarter, and that was good to see. For me, I'm happy for that young man. And it was great to hear that the Knicks fan was calling his name as opposed to booing him.
Yeah, and this is something that we talked about after the struggles early on in this series from him, is he needed to get back to doing what he does well.
Go to the basket.
Yes, which is attack and go to the basket. And it was obvious to us, and obviously it was obvious to Tom Thibodeau that that's what he needed to do. And for whatever reason, he got his confidence back and did that. So I think that he was someone he was trying to be someone that he wasn't early on in this series, trying to be a guy that hits a ton of shots, trying to establish that jumper, and just wasn't working. Where he's great is going to the basket and being aggressive in that way. And then sometimes after he does get that confidence when he scores and goes to the basket, then some of those other shots start to go in too.
For him to go to the basket, I mean, let's face it, the one thing I will say about these NBA playoffs, they've been physical. Not as physical as the NHL players, but still, nonetheless, very physical. And when you go to the basket and you go into the lane, it takes guts to do that, and to do it 7, 8, 9 times back to back. That's the kind of tenacity that you want. That's the kind of I don't want to call it courage, because the kid has played basketball his whole life and he knows what he's good at. And once he gets going and he's not afraid to go in there, then it all pays dividends. And that's why Madison Square Garden has been crazy. It will be again crazy tonight for Rangers Devils Game 4. And it's amazing. Just we haven't had this.
No,
we don't know how to act to this. I don't know how. It's been a long time.
Well, the Knick fan definitely doesn't know how to
but that's
act.
part of it.
Yeah, I know, and it's the emotion and the built up emotion over the years and the frustration of the not winning and being one of the worst franchises in all of sports. It all is coming out here, but. I mean, I'm sort of like you with the one game, one shift hockey mentality with this series here, because he's still got one more game to win. And the way that everybody's been acting at this point, because they won both those games at home, is that the series is over. The series is not over. We know what Donovan Mitchell is capable of. We saw what Darius Garland, when he plays well, what he's capable of, as we saw in Game 2. You got to finish this thing out. And then after that, I mean, you've won a round. Good. But this fan base has completely lost it. And I don't blame them for being excited, but the stuff we are seeing after these games is as if they had won the championship, which, to me, is a little bit over the top. So enjoy it, but let's get through this series and then focus. The phrase is always, you act like you've been there before. The Knick fan really hasn't been there before.
Well, this generation of Knick fan.
Exactly.
Anyway, yes.
The younger one, which is the one that you're seeing outside of the game and going crazy. So on one hand, it's really exciting, and it shows you how passionate this fan base is and how badly they have wanted this. But on the other hand, it's like guys,
isn't it amazing though what happens when you have a legitimate point guard that can control the game?
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's the one thing that the Knicks have been lacking for forever. I mean, a young, in his prime point guard that can handle the game, that can handle the pressure, that can make the shot when you need it, that can get the foul when you need it, that can get the steal when you need it, that can dunk when you need it. I mean, whatever you need. Jalen Brunson's doing it all. And, they're going to, because he has the ball in his hands so much that, there are going to be some turnovers, there are going to be some missed shots, but he is the floor general. This is what Clyde Frazier was to the Knicks. I mean, like, the young Knick fan has no idea what they're watching because they haven't seen it for their own team. They've seen it for other teams.
Sure.
But they haven't seen it for their own team. And, again, it would have been great had they had Donovan Mitchell back there with him. I mean, but, right now it's Josh Hart and him that is energizing this team. And I can't say enough. I really cannot say enough about what Mitchell Robinson is doing.
Yeah, and I was a little bit worried about him late in the game as he had a tough fall, and then he was grabbing his back, and he was limping off. And he did finish the game, but he is someone who obviously is very, very fragile and has missed a ton of time throughout his career. So that concerned me a little bit at the end of the game, but hopefully he is okay. And you got how many days till Wednesday to be able to get everything in order with this series, and hopefully they do wrap it up in Cleveland on Wednesday. I would be surprised if they did. I think Cleveland's got a little bit more fight in them, and I don't think they go down at home, especially with all these days off. And then the Knicks hopefully will wrap it up on Friday night in another raucous atmosphere and send themselves into the second round.
Well, I'm hoping tonight's going to be a raucous atmosphere at the Garden against the Devils Game 4. And, it's interesting watching this game on Saturday night. And, Ranger fans know this. I don't know how many goalies that we very rarely see. Now, we know who Akira Schmid is. We kind of know who he is just simply because he's been on their team. He's played a little bit for them. But these unknown goalies come into the Garden and turn into Ken Dryden, for God's sake.
Louis Domingue last year.
Right, exactly. So I will say that Schmid had a great game. And if they could have pierced him a couple of times early on in this game, then I think, maybe the Rangers run away with it. But I will say that they're, from a Ranger perspective now, I like the way they're playing defense. They're shooting the puck. They need to shoot a little bit more on the power play. One of the reasons why the power play is so good. And you can also see that the Devils made a change in the way that they were attacking the Rangers' power play. They were much more aggressive up at the top near the blue line to try to get them to see if they can get a mistake pass or, get a steal. And they never really got it going. But, this series is the intensity that's a part of this series if you thought that the Rangers were going to win this 4-0, you're out of your minds. There's just no way it's going to happen.
Yeah, they might win 4-1.
They may, but the fact of the matter is this kid looked great. He was calm. He very rarely gave up a rebound. And, all of these games in the NHL playoffs, with the exception of the first 2 games between these 2 teams, everything has been pretty tight, maybe with the exception of the Islanders and the Canes yesterday, but everything has been really, really tight. I mean, it's been physical. It's been intense. I know you're not watching any of the other, series, but the same thing. It's all tight. It's all defense. Guys are blocking shots.
Boy, has this series taken a new complexion.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
A new complexion.
So I am Mike. I came away disappointed that they lost on Saturday night, but I like the way they played. I like the way they played defense. And then all of a sudden there's a scramble. And next thing you know, Dougie Hamilton puts it in the back of the net, so I had to readjust the jersey in the freezer.
Oh, wow. How many jerseys do you have in the freezer?
Just his.
Oh, just his. Okay.
Just his, yes.
But you had Hughes and you had Hamilton and you had anybody else that you have?
No, well, I have you. I have Hamilton. That's it.
That's it.
I didn't want to mess with anything else. Just one guy. He's and he scores the game winner the other night.
Sure.
So he's the guy that makes it all go for them when you look at their power play and you look at their penalty kill. He's involved in a lot of things.
The Devils win this. They didn't get lucky. They didn't get outplayed. They won this game tonight. And boy, has this series taken a new complexion.
Oh,
Chico should know that Schmid played unbelievably.
I think Chico does know that, yeah.
Well, it's not. I didn't say they got lucky. I just said that Schmid played great, and it's usually an unknown goalie comes into the card and always has his moment, and he had his moment.
I think that's what the Ranger fan with the past thoughts and memories is thinking about now. Like, you telling me Schmid's now going to come in here and take over this series?
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
man.
right. I mean, that's. I even heard CeeLo talking about that.
We're not climbing on posts either. You know why? Because we have expectations. We have been here before. Just that we haven't.
Last year you were.
Yes.
So of course, but I mean, I think if you could wrap up this series and do it in impressive fashion, I still think there's a possibility that they win in 5. Then the Ranger fan, I think, really starts to get activated.
Oh, we're in, man.
Really starts to get activated.
We all have expectations. Last year was a little bit of a surprise. This year's not a surprise, especially when you add Tarasenko, Mott, Kane, and Mikkola. When you add those 4 guys, that says we're going for it.
Yeah.
So this is not, there are real expectations attached to this team.
Yeah, I wonder if Jerry's going to play the Matty Loughlin overtime winner because that was Saturday, remember? That was Saturday.
I don't know why.
He scores! Dougie Hamilton! That's the overtime game winner!
Enjoy it. That's all I can say. Enjoy
Your
it.
freezer, my ass.
I guess he could enjoy the Nets postseason. Were they even in the postseason? That was a blink of an eye, and that thing was over.
Yeah, well, I think we all kind of
crap! You think they get one?
Yeah, no, I did think they were going to get one, and I thought it was going to be Game 3, and it got close, but not close enough. So they're out of here, and now they focused on screwing up the team again.
And then of course you have your Islanders.
Yeah, that was a bad one, and Jerry, we'll get to that coming up